Hey, it's Tommy Smythe here, and Debbie and I just recorded an episode with a live studio audience for the first time. What you're about to hear was recorded live off the floor at the Dine Alone Store in Toronto at the launch event for the Women in Media Network. The founder of the network, Sarah Burke, is our producer, and you'll hear her asking questions on behalf of the audience throughout this episode. Thank you, of course, if you submitted a question on our website or on Instagram. So, things might sound a little different. I promise you a good time and so many laughs. Don't even get me started on trying to keep Debbie in line in front of a live audience. Hope you enjoy.
Okay, now you might recognize these two on stage, Debbie Travis and Tommy Smythe. Their podcast is called Trust Me, I'm a Decorator. They're going to explain a little bit about that title. We have some live mics so that we can ask questions in the audience, and if it's okay, I'm going to start by welcoming you to your first live tape of Trust Me, I'm a Decorator. Let me start with this. I would love to hear about the first impressions that you two had of each other. Take us way back, and let's get started.
Dreadful, I'd say.
No, Debbie. Okay, no, you can't say that.
He's the nice one, I'm the mean one.
You can't say that. She's hamming it up because this is our first time recording in front of a live audience. We actually met at a function after the interior design show, and it was probably 22 or 3 years ago. And there was a cocktail reception at Le Germain Hotel. And as is your sort of normal MO, you're a lot of fun at a cocktail reception. And I had known about you for so long from the
my
Painted
drinking
House.
habits.
Oh yeah, that reputation definitely preceded you. But I had known about you for such a long time and was such a fan that I kind of like snuck over and sidled up to you, and Hans was there as well. And we had this epic, great, amazing, screaming, laughing conversation at that party. And I have been absolutely in love with you ever since. So talk that on your first impressions of me.
Well, we've done a few projects together because both Tommy and I have had our own television shows for many, many years. And we were also regulars on all the local shows here and the daily shows like Marilyn Dennis. So I think we saw each other mostly when we were at Marilyn because it was always crazy. There's always a theme. There's always something funny going on. Mm-hmm. But we always like to talk. I'm a good talker. Tommy's a good talker.
No.
Yeah, I know. And next week, I'm doing the audio version of another book, and you have to talk for 7 hours a day for 5 days.
You do that anyway.
Yeah. even for me, that's quite tough. So when you're kind of personalities like us, we didn't take COVID very well. You know, we were the ones screaming in our windows, let me out of here. So Instagram, we just kind of worked our way around Instagram. Mm-hmm. And it was it's like the fun early days of television. And I'd started doing a live, which was nothing but trouble. So for an example, I was doing one about nutrition with my best friend Jackie Brown. She was on the next street. We're in London. And my eyes, at my age, are not great. So finally got the phone so it didn't kind of pop off the thing and everything. and I'm chatting away. And Jackie's talking about, I don't know, nutrition. And we're talking away and we're having a good time. And all the questions are coming up, but I can't see them. And there's a banging on the front door. And I have a little house in London. So I finally said, look, you're going to have to wait. You know, I have to go and open the door. And there's a woman standing there and going, you need to turn your phone around. I said, what? And my husband was lying on the sofa, watching television, scratching his balls, a beer in his can. And I'm doing this live thing and going, so how many beans should we have a week? You know, like kind of thing. So anyway, it roared. People loved it. And then Tommy and I started talking, and we said, well, let's do a live together. And that went crazy. So we started doing live Instagrams. And
yes.
We were being hounded. People saying, I want another one. So we kind of did, okay, every Sunday afternoon or whatever. And it became so much fun because you absolutely forget that, I mean, first of all, you
forget that other people are watching.
Language, you can do anything.
Yes, which is why this became a podcast, because I knew that if we didn't move to a pre-recorded format, Debbie would get canceled.
Yeah.
Because, my friend, you said a few things that could have led to indictments on those Instagram lives. Not for you, but for some of the people you were talking to.
Typical of my age, we are an opinionated bunch of bitches. We like to say it how it is, but with my family, you know, they're quite strict. So like when we have Christmases and things like that, I have to write all the words I'm not allowed to talk about. All Christmas, like, I won't say them because they're here, and they'll say, Mom, stop. Will you all know, if you've got kids that age, you know there are things you can't talk about.
Yes.
But Tommy is my buffer sometimes.
Yeah. And we haven't actually seen each other in person because you live in Tuscany or London, and I live here in Toronto, wishing most of the time that I could be in Tuscany or London.
But Tommy comes out quite a lot.
I do come out, and this is the first time we've seen each other in person since Christmas.
Yeah,
we spent
because I
Christmas
flew
together.
in on Monday.
Yeah.
Ask me what happened on the flight.
Oh my God. Something happens to you every time you leave the house. So I'm gonna take the bait and ask you what happened.
But I'm going to give you an amazing tip. If you get nothing out of this evening, this is a great thing. So I get on the flight. I'm doing this big event for Giant Tiger, which I did the last 2 days. So I have a lovely business class seat. I get on, and a very nice flight attendant comes over. He's from Argentina. He's very good looking. And he said, I'm so pleased. And can we chat? And he said, would you like a drink? And I said, yes. So I have a gin. I have a can of tonic, a big glass of water, and then he puts the food down, which is some tomatoey, mushy type thing.
Yes.
And the table collapses. And I mean collapses. We haven't even left the runway. And we'd just gone. And I'm covered from head to foot in gin, water, everything, and some bolognese sauce. And
the last time I saw you come out of the kitchen in Tuscany, you were covered in all of that.
That's normal.
This is not,
I had to sit for 10 hours. But I don't know if anybody's been on a flight. If you have an incident on a flight at the moment, no writing those shitty letters. I'm sure you've all sent millions of them to, I would like to complain, yes, it's me again, all that kind of stuff. No, they come with an iPad and they say, oh, we're recording this, aren't we?
Yes, of course
dear.
we are. Yeah,
okay.
Well, that's fine. Debbie, this is your podcast.
Tommy's got a hood on. So they come over with an iPad and they say, we're going to do the complaint now. And I said, oh, that's good. Okay, well, I think it's disgraceful. They traded well, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, what do I get out of it? Another apology? And they said, no, you get 25% off your next flight. So next time you go anywhere, make sure you tip everything all over and go and complain. 25%. That's pretty good.
I was going to say you're lucky that the tray table collapsed and that the door didn't fly off the airplane, because what's been happening lately on other flights.
But they do make a note. So if you do it 20 times, I think they'd know you're faking it.
Oh, well, and I know that entered your head. I do know that did.
Oh, God.
Debbie, I need you a little bit closer to your mic.
Sorry.
This is very normal for us. We're used to this.
Well, the technical stuff of this, it brings her to her knees, brings her to tears, because we're not very technical. So
one of us is better than the other.
Yeah, chatting for an hour is easy, but doing the tech stuff, oof.
Debbie, I need you to restart your computer.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Oh, no. I said, but my book's on it. She said, it doesn't matter. So I'm always terrified.
First.
Restart your computer.
We'll get there.
So we're going to take some audience questions. This is an Ask Us Anything episode.
Yes, we love our Ask Us Anything episodes.
A former engineer of a book that you did, Design Your Next Chapter, audiobook, is in the room right now. Josh, you want to put your hand up, Josh?
Oh, God, well, that's what I'm doing next week. I'm going to do the next one, but I have to do it in a whole week, It's hard, isn't it? Because you can't have any drink. No, that's not what I meant. But you can't have anything with milk in it, because then it lines your throat, right? You can't have bubbles or else you'll burp. And you're talking, because you have to keep the momentum. If you listen, everybody loves audiobooks. So you have to keep the balance up all the time. You can't get 3 o'clock in the morning, and then I went, you've got to be up all the time. And it's incredibly hard. And you need somebody nice to do it with you. Holds your hand.
Josh had a great question, though. His question was, what is one of the proudest moments that you shared in that book? And Tommy, I would love to hear about one of your proudest moments as well.
One of the proudest moments in Design Your Next Chapter. I'll try and remember. It was end of 2018 it came out. So this was a book set around what it's like to jump from one career to the next. And mine was jumping from 25, 30 years in television into buying a ruin in Tuscany on a hillside, renovating it, and then opening it up to women to come and stay with me. And it was a terrifying thing to do. But when you're in that kind of mode, it's a bit like buying a new car. You buy a new red Audi, suddenly you see that car everywhere, right? And so suddenly I became attracted to other people's stories. And, surgeons who suddenly decided they wanted to sing, or, worked for the bank for 25 years and, no, I want to go and have a beach bar and I'm done. It's that attitude. You know what? I'm done. I want to do something different. So I included all these different stories, and I met some incredible, incredible people. But I think the thing that impressed me the most was myself. Well, it does, because
Not even I saw that coming. I didn't see it coming.
But when you write this stuff down, when people come and stay with us in Tuscany, and I show them the before and afters of this ruin, pigs running around, and I mean, it was the most grisly place. And then you see it now, which is so beautiful. I wouldn't do it now. If somebody said, you're going to be doing that, you're going to take that bunch of pigsties and turn them into beautiful suites for women, I would be like, I can't do that. I cannot do that. Yeah. So I think that's where the pride comes in, the fact that I did it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, it's a similar answer, I think, because I try to live within a space where I'm trying to be quite proud of everything that I do. So I have proud moments on a weekly basis, and I try to focus on those so that it helps with my, momentum moving forward. But I will tell you a story. There was a time when I was shooting the wedding show that I did, Where To I Do, and we were shooting in New York City, and I had never filmed in New York before. And I kind of had that feeling of, this is amazing. It feels like I've arrived. I'm shooting in New York City. We're at Rockefeller Center. I got a private tour of the Rainbow Room. We were shooting at a venue on top of the building that overlooked St. Patrick's Cathedral. It was really spectacular. And I was down in the lobby of the building waiting for my cue to come out and do some lines that I'd been handed a few minutes earlier. And my producer was outside, and I just checked my phone. And on my phone was a text message from my then boyfriend saying, when you get back on Sunday, I will be gone. No, it's not that bad. So this was a thing that should have happened. But it was a little shocking. And the thing that I was so proud of in that moment was that I put the phone back in my back pocket. I went outside and I did exactly what I was supposed to do, and I did it perfectly. And then I pulled my producer aside and told her what had happened. And she asked me if I wanted to cut the day short. And I said no. And I just did it. And I thought, if you can do that kind of thing, and really bring it professionally in an environment like that, that was years of TV training coming out and being able to compartmentalize in that way. And I was quite proud of that moment.
Just get on with it.
Yeah. But like I said, I try to have proud moments. Not all of them are that emotionally devastating.
You guys should listen to the episode they did for Valentine's Day where they talk about some of the breakups and the falling in love and all that
same
stuff.
guy.
Same guy?
Yeah.
Anyway. The hotel room guy?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
You pick him.
Yeah, I know. He had other qualities that were quite something.
I would love
which we won't go into on the Women Plus Tommy in Media live podcast.
Well, we've got a sex person here, so you can ask.
A sexologist, yeah. I would love to have some other voices on the podcast. Who has a question they'd like to ask on the microphone that we can bring to you?
Don't be shy, because obviously we're not.
Would you come up here? Oh, so is this one of your former publicists?
Kathy has worked with me for many, many years, Penguin Random House for a long, long time, and was the publicist for the American books coming in, right? The big books. And I have to tell them one story about you. So she had people like Nigella and Deepak Chopra and everything. And when your publicist is with you, when you're on a book tour, and my first 8 books, which were all design books, were out of New York. And so I got the big budgets. We traveled all over the country together, and it was stuff. And so Kathy and I would crack up so much in the back of the car. And one day she says she just had Deepak Chopra. I don't know if you remember this story. Deepak in the back of the car. And Kathy's last name is Payne. Deepak, you've heard his voice. He talks like this, and he says, I cannot, Kathy, call you Kathy Payne. From now on, your name is Kathy Pleasure. I never forgot that story.
And as a publicist, you just laugh and smile. So we have toured the world together. I've worked on your TV shows, your books. And so thinking back, what is one of the oddest experiences you've had on the road?
Oh my God, there's so many, but I know which one you're going for, because we're still talking for it. So about maybe 15 years ago, there was a movie out with Diane Lane and the best looking man you've ever seen in your life, apart from Tommy. Very tall and gorgeous. And she goes to Chicago and she has an affair. And I think the other guy, who was married to
Diane Lane makes a lot of horny movies.
Yeah, this was she does.
She really does.
Anyway, it was and the wind came, and she was having sex with him in this warehouse and stuff like this. And anyway, so I arrive in a filthy mood in Kansas City, and I'm in a shopping mall where they put these fancy hotels in the mall so people can stay in a nice hotel and shop till they drop. And I'm doing a speech. And I get into my room, and it's very hard on the road, and I go in, and my room is tiny. Anyway, I find a movie, I put it on, and think, okay, I'm not eating, I'm not drinking. Anyway, I'm watching this film, and I think, I'll have something. So I ring downstairs, and I ask for a grilled chicken breast and some vegetables. So a little guy, he must be 110, knocks on the door, and he comes in with a tray, and the room is, honestly, it's the size of this stage. And just as he walks in with the tray, and the television screen is enormous, there are Diane Lane's legs in the air. Somebody's, can I say muff diving? Anyway, muff diving. And the guy, he puts the tray down, staring at this, and I thought, oh, God. Anyway, he leaves, obviously going to tell everybody, and I noticed it's my mistake. It was not a chicken breast, it was a chicken leg. So I called back downstairs, and I said, look, I ordered a chicken breast, and I got a leg, and it comes back up. The next scene's on. And it looks like I'm watching a porno, right? So
you practically are, because it's a Diane Lane film.
He's walking in like this, and all he's done is saw off the leg and mashed it, and I'm like, that's the same chicken. You know, don't you? You know. Anyway, he leaves again. I thought, I need a drink. So, brace yourself. So I called downstairs, and I said, could I get a glass of red wine? No, you know what? This is America. This is Kansas. No, you know what? I'll take a carafe. A whole carafe. A what? A carafe. You know what? No, I shouldn't. I'll never get up in the morning. Just bring me half a carafe. Same guy. Next sex scene is on. He walks in with a plate, a napkin, which made it worse, and half a carrot.
No, a carrot. And he thought you needed a carrot while you were watching this movie.
Yes. Because apparently they don't have carafes in America.
How big was the carrot?
It was not big enough, Tommy. And there it is.
I mean, it begs the question.
It's one of those things where it all starts to gel together, and you think, what are they talking about in the kitchen? That nut job upstairs. Oh. You just put your head under the pillow and cry.
I think all of us who've been on the road with crews have many, many stories. Have you ever had a violently ill story? Like when you've been shooting on the road?
I have a pretty strong constitution, but I bet you have.
No, I had one. I was in Atlanta shooting, and I used to get released on that show earlier than the rest of the crew because they would get all of their B-roll after I was finished filming my scenes. And so I would go back to the hotel, usually have an early dinner, go to bed early to be fresh for the next day. Very profesh, So there was no parties or anything like that, but we were staying in Hilton, and this Hilton had one of those Trader Vic's restaurants, down in the bowels of the hotel, and I thought I was too lazy to go out or research where to go, so I went downstairs, and this was before I was vegan, obviously, so I ordered this General Tao chicken and ate it at the bar with a glass of wine and went upstairs, and at about 2 o'clock in the morning, it was Bed Bath & Beyond. And I was very panicky because the first time it had ever happened to me on a shoot. And I thought a person in this state can't work. So I sent a text message to my producer, knowing that she would be up at 5 a.m. Their call was earlier than mine as well. I was a bit of a pampered princess on this show. And I said, I don't know what to do. I'm violently ill. And she called me when she got the message, and she said, what happens in these circumstances? You go to work, and we have a bucket, or we tried to shoot near a toilet, and you just do it. And I said, okay, well, how long can I have? And she said, I can probably delay getting you to the location until 10 o'clock.
Oh my God.
And it was 5. And I said, you know what? I'm going to be better by the time I get there. And I did fucking everything. I drank water. I had Gatorade brought up. I went to the pharmacy, ran to the pharmacy and back because I couldn't be more than 2 feet from a toilet, and took every kind of pill that was available, and many of them probably overdosed on Imodiums, and went to work, and I was okay.
I never really got sick. I probably did, but when we did Facelift was the first reality design show on HGTV America and here and everything. And nobody had ever really, the only show that was out was the Osbournes. And so you were following the puck. So you'd come from the painted house, which was hair and makeup and setting everything up, to literally as it happens. So the best thing that could happen to us was somebody being sick, violently, dying would be great, or an accident, because we would film everything. And it was all part of the show. And we had this
story.
Drama.
So we had this tiny little guy who was an electrician. I'm sure he's in therapy still. And I remember him falling off a ladder and breaking both his arms. Get a camera! Get a camera outside when the ambulance comes. Okay, I want him being lifted out because it was all...
You're directing his injury.
He said, but I think I've broken both arms. Even better, quick.
Terrible.
And I think when that incident, we had many incidents like that. I think we had People magazine sitting there and they were like, I didn't push him. Not well, I might have done, but
That's what producers want, though. They want that drama.
Yeah.
I have another hotel story that's not mine, but this is amazing. I don't even know if it's going to make the edit because it's so gross. But I had a friend who was staying at the Waldorf Astoria in New York before it started the renos. And she had always wanted to stay there. It was this big fulfillment of a dream of glamour that she wanted to enact. And so she checked in with her husband and she went into the closet to put some things away. And there was on the floor of the closet a giant tub of personal lubricant with hair on the top. So, being so incredibly grossed out by this, she called the front desk and she said, please, we need to be moved to another room. I don't want to stay here. So they came up and they took their luggage out and they moved them to another room, and she checked the closet right away and there was nothing in it. It was fine. And when they came to bring her luggage that they'd moved from the other room, they knocked on the door and the man was standing at the door and said, this is yours. And it was the tub of lube with the hair in it. And she said she screamed right in his face and said, that's not mine.
Oh, but he probably wasn't even listening and told everybody.
Oh, I'm sure everybody downstairs in the housekeeping department knew about it. Yeah, of course.
That's disgusting. Yeah. God, hate hotels.
We're just going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
I'm Sarah Burke, and I host the Women in Media podcast, where I'm exploring the challenges women face in the media spotlight and celebrating our triumphs. My guests come from radio, TV, news, and sports, and we'll cover topics like leadership, diversity, stereotypes, and more. Most of all, I'm looking to build a community through a space where we can discuss anything. The Women in Media podcast, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or at womeninmedia.ca. How about another question from the audience? I want someone else's voice.
So this is a design question.
Oh, good.
So I live a bit of a transient lifestyle. I move around a lot, and I have a hard time maintaining a good aesthetic as I bounce to different spaces with my core things, but every space seems to need something to make it more like home. Do you have any advice? I'm moving again in like 2 months.
Are you in the witness protection program?
I am.
Okay, because
don't
they
tell
have funding for this. So it's funny because our podcast, we don't talk a lot about decorating. I love to talk about it. Debbie hates talking about it. So I'll take that question. I have also been quite transient in periods of my life. And I'm a Cancer, so I'm a serious homebody. And I do have things that I bring with me. If you look at the photographed images of my homes over the decades, you can see many of the same pieces of furniture and certainly artwork. But the one thing that you can do to make a new place feel like the last place is be consistent with the color that you paint it. Because it's cheap, you can do it yourself, and if you pick a color that is strong enough and that you like enough and that you make, that you put on the walls of at least one room in each place that you successively go to, then that will be something that's connective tissue for you. And it will be something that looks and feels familiar, and it will be a grounding element. It's the easiest and the cheapest way to do it without, completely reinventing the wheel every time.
Yeah.
Well, to piggyback off of that, you guys do a lot of travel. What is something that you have to bring with you on the road to make you feel like home?
Lube.
A giant tub of lube. Yes. And a carrot.
Never leave home without your carrot or your lube.
She still has the same carrot.
I would love to say the pictures of the children, but actually pictures of my dog.
Oh my God, one of your kids is in the audience.
He knows I love the dog better.
Do better. I don't take the same things with me everywhere I go, but I do have a system that I use to travel. Like when I'm with Debbie in Europe in a month or so, I'm traveling from Toronto to Budapest to Nuremberg to Prague to Rome to Tuscany to Milan to London and then home. And I'm gone for a month. And so what I tend to do is a really strict packing regime of rinse and repeat. I have 5 days worth of clothes and I wash them every 5 days. When I'm with Debbie, it's Mariana who does it.
It's not me.
And once when Patrick and I were staying with Debbie in Hands, to be polite, I said, could I do the laundry? She said, no, I'm not letting you near those machines. And so she did the laundry and Debbie went in there and she said, remember the underwear?
Yes.
She said they were the smallest knickers she'd ever seen in her entire life.
I thought somebody'd got their child staying and we don't allow children. Those are the smallest knickers I've ever seen.
They were, little ones. They're Patrick's, not mine. Mine are big. Mine are huge. So anyway, I do rinse and repeat because I have a wardrobe that's super interchangeable. So right now I'm wearing jeans and a black shirt and black shoes. I wear mostly navy and black when I'm traveling. If it's warm, then it's usually like white and navy. Yeah. And just combining different things, bringing separates and rinsing and repeating every time. But I don't bring sentimental things with me. I collect sentimental things. I'm not going to go into the number of things I've stolen from Debbie's house when I've stayed there, but there's always something you can pick up
My
as a
silverware.
memento. Yeah, I have a few knives, just in case.
If you're enjoying this podcast, please rate us, send in a review, and make sure you're subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts.
One of the questions that came in on Instagram we had posted was if you could be anyone else in the world,
Oh my
anyone,
God.
whether it's someone who has a public profile or not, who would you be?
Her. I mean, have you seen where she lives?
Gosh, who would you be? I don't know. I'm quite happy. I'd like to be younger. I'd love to be 20 years younger and just do it all again and just, I think that's the horrible thing about getting older is, it's like there's so much to do, so much to see, so much to enjoy.
I mean, I think the trick is to not want to be anybody else, to want to be the best possible version of yourself that you can be.
Yeah.
And I think we both do a fairly good, at times, egomaniacal job at that, I think. I mean,
there are moments,
Yeah, no, I definitely have moments where I look in the mirror and think, oh my God, like what happened?
Yeah.
I actually recently did something so egocentric, I think. I don't know because I don't have anything to compare it to, but there's an artist that I follow on Instagram whose portraits I really love. He does portraits. And I sent him a photograph of me that was taken when I was like 20. And I was fucking stunning. Like, I mean, it is such a beautiful picture. I don't mind saying. And I said, would you paint this in your sort of style of portrait painting? And he's doing it right now. I'll show it to you when it's done.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'll have to post it when it's done because now people are going to be curious. But I thought after I did it, was that like a really weird thing to do? Like commission a portrait of yourself, but yourself at 20.
Wow. No, it's a nice thing to do.
I couldn't look at a portrait of myself
Are you going
now.
to put it above the mantelpiece or something?
I don't know. It's not big. It's not like a great big picture of Dorian Gray thing. It's just a little thing.
Yeah.
Okay, another one that came in. So you guys have been on TV for most of your professional lives. What are your favorite TV shows? And you cannot name something either of you have been in, okay?
Okay. So I'm going to pick one that is in the lifestyle category just because for me it was such a revelation. So Lynn Crawford's show Pitchin' In, which was a cooking show where Lynn went to farms to see the food produced at the
That's a good
source
show, yeah.
and then made a world-class gourmet meal for the people who produced the ingredients. I thought that was one of the cleverest, most original, most engaging, most riveting shows I've ever seen in the lifestyle category. And because I love that show so much, I made her my friend.
Oh, yeah.
I made a point of meeting her, and I forced her to fall in love with me. And we have been very, very dear friends ever since. And the amazing thing about her is that being with her, just at her own farm, she has her own farm now, is just like being in the show.
Yeah.
She's mad, she's fun, she
on
can
a
cook a
tractor.
hell of a meal out of almost nothing, and she grows her own food now.
Yeah. Well, she comes out, actually, she's done 2 events at our place in Italy, and she came last summer with her family, which was lovely.
Pitchin' In was one of those shows, though, that I think really changed the game. Like, it was just one of those seminal, incredible maverick programs that changed it for me. Yeah.
Debbie, how about you?
Well, I think today we're in an amazing era of just incredible dramas, and
I know what your favorite is.
You do, don't you?
Yeah, Happy Valley.
I loved Happy Valley, the last season of Happy Valley, which I don't know if you've got here yet.
British crime procedural.
There were 7 years between the last episodes, the last seasons, and then 7 years. And Sarah Lancashire, who you all know, she was Julia Childs in the Julia Child. One of the best actresses, I think. And I thought Happy Valley was... And
She's
who's
incredible.
Norton, he's the bad guy in it.
Yeah.
Was so great.
It's a really riveting...
Yeah.
I loved it as well.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I
just
know that it's your favorite because when it was on, you kept on texting me or WhatsApping me and saying, have you watched it? Have you watched it? I can't. It's a British show and they don't have it here yet.
Yeah.
But it's a good one.
Hey guys, I was just wondering for Lisa's podcast, and I think everyone here might be interested, but what advice would you have for your younger selves?
What advice would I have for my younger selves? Certainly have more sex. Because, and going back to this portrait that I recently commissioned, I had no idea how beautiful I was at that age. I had no clue. And if I knew that then, I would have been a huge hoe. That's an honest answer for you.
Very honest. I think maybe I have more confidence now than I did when I was young. I had a lot of street smarts because I left home, was kicked out of home when I was 16, and I just went for it. I took a bus from the north of England. I remember saying to my mum, okay, can I go now? I'm 16. She said, yeah, do you want a cheese sandwich for the bus? And that was it. But I come from I've just been writing about this, and it's quite emotional because they're very different times. These were not helicopter parents. They were exhausted, they were busy, they were whatever, and I was the eldest and I was gone. And I arrived in London on a bus and met a friend who I'd known and somehow bumped into her within the first 5 minutes. We ended up living together, and you just made it work. You just did it. So I think that there's a street smarts and then there's confident. I never knew when I was kind of so big here in the middle of the shows, we created a genre, basically. We were the first...
You became quite famous for a period of time in your life.
We were the first kind of decorating show, and it went all over the world. But the way the networks kind of worked here was they kept everybody separate, so you rarely met other hosts. And I was a producer as well because we owned our own production company. And you really didn't know, like with Instagram and all the things today, you know how many followers you've got, and that's you like, oh, I'm doing well, I've got, but you didn't know, you got your ratings once a week. And if
Or radio.
Yeah. And if I'd known how powerful, and powerful's the wrong word, but the impact you were giving. And now when people walk up to you and say, I had a bad relationship with my mum, but I came home from school every day and that was our time together watching you on television. Or I painted my house, I became a designer because of you, I did this because of you. Mm-hmm. We had no clue of any of that. We were in a bubble, we just filmed and filmed and filmed and filmed. And those were the days where the networks were like, give us what you've got, give us what you have. More, I want more, I want more.
Oh yeah, there were 26 episode seasons.
Oh, they were went for it.
And we would do them back to back.
And then with the big product lines and the books and the newspaper columns and it was just crazy. I think it hit me when it was kind of on this hillside in Italy renovating, and it's like, I don't know if anybody saw Dolce Debbie, which is the documentary series we filmed about this place in Italy, and Oprah bought it. It was on here and now it's on YouTube, and we get calls from Peru and Indonesia, and it's fantastic. That's the power of YouTube. And there was no hair and makeup. There was no nothing. There was just crews would come 3 times a year and just film up, and there was always something going on. It's in Italy, something happens every 5 minutes. And you see the whole journey over 6 episodes of this renovation. And it's not a renovation show. It's about the toughness of doing this. You look back on that and you think, God,
So to bring it back to advice to your younger self, would you say that you would tell her to be more present or not, to do it?
Not to do it. No, but I wish
Don't do it.
I wish I'd not worried so much or, panicked so much and you're worrying about the children, you're worrying about this, you're worrying about keeping it all together. And
easy to say now that you know the outcome,
yeah.
but harder to say then when you're in the moment, right?
Yeah. But I think to have more confidence and to know it's going to be okay in the end and to go and do it. This is the thing, I think I see a lot of young people today very anxious. This anxiety thing is, I think, off the charts. It's going to be okay. Just believe in yourself. Do what you're doing. Do it the best you can. You will be who you're going to be. Yeah. If you're an architect and you're a shitty architect, then you're going to be a shitty architect. If you want to be an actor and you're not going to be a great actor, then you're going to not be a great actor. But you'll have other things and other doors open. I think that's the key, that you get pointed down certain paths. And also stuff comes to you at different times. Yeah. I had a girl in my class when I was 14. She had bright red hair. She had a square bottom. She had this square bottom so that you could put plates on it. And I thought she was and I had no bottom. And I wanted to be her so badly. And
you wanted to have the square bottom?
Yeah, she was cool and she had all the friends. And I just thought she was amazing. God knows what she looks like today.
But what about the square bottom?
I know, but it was cool when I was 14. But your time will come. So it could be your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s. You will find a time that is your time, that is when you feel I'm in the right place at the right time, I'm at my happiest now. But you need to keep being open to opportunities and listen to when things come about.
I've seen you get quite frustrated with people who say no to opportunities that are amazing. You're a very good mentor in that sense, because I've seen you with people say, like, what are you thinking? You have to run toward this.
Yeah, when you start being asked to do speeches, the first few years you're talking about decorating. We said it's not.
She's over it now.
It's not my. But it's not my thing. Tommy's the great decorator. But suddenly I started to be asked to speak to women in business, young women and whatever. And I remember I was in Calgary or something, and I opened this curtain. There's like 2,000 women sitting there. So I said to the boss lady, I said, "What do I talk about?" She said, "Just talk."
So you were already there with this huge audience waiting for you, and you had prepared nothing.
No. And there was one guy in painting overalls at the front, obviously thinking I was going to talk about base coats. And this audience was incredible. And it was all these questions. How do I do it? Where do I do it? I'm scared. I'm fearful. And suddenly something snapped, and I said, and that's when I started to build this speech. And I did them for a long, long time. And the biggest question of all was fear. And I remember saying to people, fear is the wrong word. Fear is you can't pay the mortgage. Fear is you just lost a family member. That's fear. The rock bottom. It's terrible. You're not fearful. You're worried. You're anxious. You're not sure. That's not fear. Mm-hmm. And if you make a list of all the things you're frightened of and all the lists you're not, the knot is going to be very short. Mm-hmm. The fearful list is like, I can't do that because I walked the dog on Wednesday. I can't do that because those is not fear. That's just excuses and worries. And so start saying, well, you know what? I won't do it on a Wednesday. I'll do it on a Thursday. And try and slim down that list into something. And then you'll start saying, well, maybe I can. Or maybe it's not the right time. If you've got 4 kids under 5, maybe it's not the right time to go and open a beach bar in Greece, But put it on your vision board. I wanted to live in Italy from the core of my being. Mm-hmm. Half my brain, my husband and I would sit in huge meetings, public, television meetings, and we'd be looking at each other, and I say, you're counting how many olive trees you're going to put on that hill. I could visualize. I don't believe in the secret, but I do, because I think it's too simplistic, but I do believe in having a vision board.
You mean that book, The Secret?
Yeah, well, It's too simple. You can wish for a Ferrari as much as you want. You're not going to get it. Mm-hmm. But if you're young and you're thinking, I want this, and I had a tear sheet of arches. It was a picture of a house in Morocco. I now have 10 arches in my living room. I had a picture of an olive grove with the red and white tablecloth and somebody, having lunch or something. I now have 4,000 trees, which I have to pick every October, I had that, and I looked at when I was tired and exhausted, that was my dream. My dream to have my family, makes me cry, around that table, and I got it.
Yeah.
And
you
I
did.
worked sometimes when you think you can't walk and you can't do another minute, I'll be on that hillside one day. So, and everybody's dream is different.
Yeah. But I've been at that table, and I will say for the people
I
listening
need more gin.
that, there is a look that comes over you in that setting that is
it's
so
magical.
placid and so calm and so joyful and so satisfying that it is literally written all over your face.
Yeah.
So
and I see it when the women arrive, because you've saved up your money to come and stay with us.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't really know where you're going. You're not given an address. You so go to this hotel room. At this time, if you're late, you have to get a taxi. If you're there, there'll be 2 vans to pick you up.
Yeah, it involves a leap of faith.
Yeah, and they arrive 2.5 hours, they're dozing off. And it's like a bunch of 14-year-old girls. You've done it with me.
Yes, it's
and
very
they
satisfying.
Collapse.
It's quite something.
They fall to their knees. And I personally take every single woman to their room. And I do that because I want to see their reactions, because it's my work, my love, my heart that's in that room.
And you designed each of those rooms yourself.
And if they don't cry, I say, there's the bus stop.
I mean, the way that the villa reveals itself is also very much a part of that experience of arrival. You come up a long drive with cypress trees lining it, and you get out of your transportation and you walk up a couple of stairs onto a narrow terrace that opens up to a wider terrace that then opens up to the entire valley and Montepulciano in the distance, glistening in the distance. It doesn't matter what the weather is like. It is a breathtaking experience every time. I've done it so many times. It never gets old. It never gets tired.
old.
And being able to provide that experience for people who come from away and from abroad and from all different walks of life, and some of them are, people of means, and some of them have saved up for many, many years to be able to come to those
Some
retreats.
are broken. We have a lot of broken birds.
Yep.
Some going through shitty divorces. Some have problems with their kids. Some have gone through early widowhood. There's every type of person there, but and I do nothing. They think I'm a genius, but it's the camaraderie of women. It is magical. It's also limoncello, but it's copious
Homemade
amounts.
limoncello, no regulations. Yeah.
But, it's the magic of what these 30-year-old woman next to a 60-year-old woman talking. As my husband says, do they ever shut up? They talk through yoga, they talk through breakfast, they talk through hikes, because they're sharing their passions and their upsets and their fears and their this and that. And at the end, forget Botox or facials or they look amazing. And it's because great food, fresh air, but it's community. In fact, that when I wrote the last book, Joy, this was life lessons from a Tuscan villa, because they say, how do I bottle this up? How do I bring this home? I live in an apartment in Toronto. But you must create your own community. You must create your friends. The value for me, for friends, is the most important thing in my life. And you work at it and you work at it. Well, she never calls me back. Then call her,
Yeah, the phone works both ways.
Works both ways. And if we got one friend who doesn't call, then you just it's your job. You call.
I think that's a very good thing to end on, because you know that you're not supposed to hold a glass with tinkling ice cubes on a podcast.
On a microphone.
If any of you are regular listeners and you hear tinkling, that's Debbie on her side, not my side. But I think that's a really great way to end. We have really enjoyed this live audience for the first time. I might be slightly addicted to it, but that's another podcast. And celebrating the launch of the Women in Media Network, I think is really, Women Plus Tommy in Media Network.
Yeah.
I campaigned for that name, but I didn't get it. But I think, it is about community, and it's such a pleasure to be a part of this burgeoning network and this growing community of women sharing stories. Yeah. So thank you to everybody in the audience for being here with us. That was kind of amazing. And thank you, Sarah Burke.
Thank you, Sarah. Woman on the move.
Okay, I'm throwing in the last question here because I know that you are both busy and working on so many things. Leave us with something that you're both excited about. I'm sure Debbie's going to mention her next book. Well, I would like to hear about your next book, but you're on a limit. You got 1 minute. Let's go.
So I have a new book coming out, and it's called Laugh More. stories from an unexpected life. And it's a bit like doing this podcast. You know, when you're out with your girlfriends, you're jumping. You ever watch a man's face when you're at a dinner party, you're out with people, and all the women are jumping from topic to topic to topic to topic. So it starts off like, what are you going to wear for the party? Oh, I don't know. But did you know so-and-so? 2 hours later, wear the red, you know? And men are like, huh? You know, and so the book is jumping from a year in Tuscany into other stories. So it might be me going to the market to buy lemons, and it takes me to a market store where I ended up selling cocaine by mistake in London.
Oh my God.
When I was
This is
19.
why we can't do Instagram Live anymore, because she says things like this.
You know, so it's lots and lots of stories, and I think we all need a good laugh. Today's world is so tough and so hard. It's beautifully illustrated by an Australian girl, and very funny. Well, I think it's funny. And my children are at the back, and I pinned them down in January and made them every single night in Italy, where they wanted to relax and cuddle up as newlyweds, saying, "Can I read you a bit of my book?"
Story time.
And the joy for me to hear them giggling and laughing, probably about me, was fantastic. So I'm very excited. So we'll be doing the audio version next week, and it'll come out in October.
That's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah.
I'm excited today because I have to run out of here after this recording to go to a little event for Casey House. I've been a volunteer at Casey House for about 15 years, maybe longer, maybe 18 now. And I was the honorary chairperson of an event called David's Disco. So this is a dance party. So I have to go home and put on funner pants and more comfortable shoes and something that has sequins on it, probably. We'll see what I have.
If I have to wear sequins, I borrow them off Tommy.
And yeah, I'm going to go and dance the night away with Dancing Phil, the DJ, and Brooklyn Heights, who you all know from Canada's Drag Race, and raise some money for Casey House for people
good
with
for you,
living with HIV/AIDS. Yeah.
Thank you again to everyone for coming. Thank you to Dine Alone. Thank you to the sound crew. Thank you to the lighting crew. Please grab a D&T. They have a cocktail named after them at the bar, but the full menu is there. Thank you to all the podcasters and for all of you for coming.
Thanks, everybody. That was fun. That was fun. How do we get a live audience every time now, Sarah? So that was our Ask Us Anything episode recorded with a live audience in Toronto. You can find some photos and videos from the event at the Trust Me Pod on Instagram and at thetrustmepod.com. So check those out and send Debbie all the carrot emojis. Thanks for listening.
This podcast is distributed by the Women in Media Podcast Network. Find out more at womeninmedia.network.